In this video, I'm going to take you through the exact step-by-step process that I and the team here at the Action Coach firm go through to prepare hiring for our next role. So if you're a business owner and you're looking for kind of the template, the process, something tactical or tangible that you can take away and actually use, then this is the video for you. Welcome back. It is week 13 of this crazy idea to retire my parents from our family business by the end of 2026, which means it is halfway through January of 2026, which means, oh boy, we've got 11 and a half months to go. Still pretty tall order for where we're at today. But this last week, so as we look at kind of reflection of this process of achieving this goal, this week really had me in the manager and coach mode. So, client and team support was a big portion of kind of the early days of this particular week. So, we're talking working through specific bottlenecks and frustrations and guiding our individuals. So, the team members, the clients, things like that, through very specific things in their business. Now, this ranged from just being incredibly overwhelmed with things that are going on, both personal life, business life, career life, all of these types of things, all the way through to cash flow constraints and some challenges there, both on a positive perspective because there's more sales, but it's just a longer, sales cycle or cash flow cycle. To oh, we're having some challenges. We need to work through some things. So lots of different things on that particular piece. And then one of my favorite ones is looking at the cracks within systems. So, if you don't know this, anytime you continue to grow a business, as you grow from 100 to 200,000 in sales, 200 to 500, 500 to a million, million to 5 million, and so forth, each time you continue to move through this journey of building the business, the systems, the frameworks, the things that you've put in place tend to break a bit. Now, they don't necessarily crumble altogether, especially if you've built a really solid foundation. But the systems that you had for a two-person team don't work the same way when you've got a 10 or 12-person team. So there's got to be some revamping, some changes, and that change is growth. And growth tends to come with this uncertainty and kind of icky, hard, this is uncomfortable feeling. So it's a fun thing to work through, but it is just a piece of continuing to grow the business. And these were some of the things that we got to work on for the first couple days this week, which was manager and coach mode, helping them identify what are the exact first next steps that they can go take to start to remove some of these bottlenecks. Now, obviously, for confidentiality reasons, I can't get super in depth on what specifically those things are. So I'd like to share with you something more important, more exciting, and more fun, and things that I'm willing to share specifically for our business here in Central Texas. And that is hiring and recruiting and preparing for your next hire. So here in the business, as we look over the next couple of months, we're looking to bring on a couple additional team members on the team. The two right now that we are specifically starting to outline and prepare for are a strategic partnership manager, kind of on our marketing and lead gen side of things, and a full-time business coach to come and continue to support and build out additional operational support, client infrastructure type deal within the business. So these are two big roles that we're looking to fill over the first half of 2026 or so. So what does this look like? So if you're sitting there, maybe you're in the same position that we're in, where it's time to start looking at bringing on some team members you haven't had on the team before. How do you even start that process? What does that look like? So I'm going to take you through my process and what I do. And if you've been following along here with me, you likely know that I'm a pretty big fan of using a lot of the new AI tools. I have a subscription to ChatGPT, to Claude, to Gemini, and a few other things out there. So when I have a function like this that I need to go and implement and do in our business, I will traditionally start with some conversation with my large language model of choice. For this particular one, ChatGPT has enough information on me in the business, things like that, that it tends to be the right fit for these types of conversations. So this week I went into ChatGPT and I've got kind of some different ideas and thoughts in my head. I've already got some things mapped out in terms of what we want to be accomplishing in our business. And what this looked like for us was a conversation on really role clarity. So I took each of these individually. I started with the strategic partnership manager, and I told ChatGPT all the things that were already in my head. I told it, hey, I'm looking to bring this type of individual onto my team. Here's some of the initial KPIs that we have mapped out. I'd really like to go through the process of clarifying every aspect of the role and clarify the KPIs, the training roadmap, all the things that we're going to need to know so that I can come up with really the, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six documents that I think are critical to be able to properly be prepared to bring somebody onto your team. So these six documents are going to be a role overview. So this could be the job description, if you will. A document on KPIs to have super high clarity of what's expected as standard within the role that we're bringing on, the compensation structure and the map forward on that, a training plan. I think this often tends to be, the document or the thing that tends to be missed the most when it comes to bringing new individuals onto the team. But what does the first 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 weeks look like for the individuals they come onto your team? Obviously, yes, there's a few things in the beginning from onboarding and things like that, but how do you ramp them up in their particular role? What types of learnings are they going to need to go through? Training, and then the actual positional agreement. So I really break out a job description and positional agreement are different. Job description is more to get the individual excited and have them understand every component of the role. The positional agreement is the actual agreement that we have them sign. So it's going to outline all the nitty gritty, all the kind of legal jargon that might be necessary, all of that kind of stuff. So these, in my opinion, are two different documents. And then the most important one, the last one, the sixth document, is going to be the job ad. So if you've ever hired for somebody in the past and you've just put a job description or a positional agreement up as your job ad, these are two very different things. I One of the lessons that I've had to learn over the years to get better at hiring things like that is understanding that the process of recruiting and retaining and hiring and all that kind of stuff for team members is no different than what we do on the marketing side. It is a marketing process that we want to attract the right people into the organization, which means a positional agreement that is written in jargon and things like that is really boring and isn't necessarily going to pull the right people into the circle. So we create a job ad, something that's exciting, something that tells the marketplace who exactly we're looking to bring on the team and who we're not looking to bring on the team. So some of my favorite things when it comes to writing a job ad is what we're looking for are these specific traits. And if you enjoy this or that or have these types of traits or don't like to do these specific things, you're not a fit. And that's okay because we'd hate to waste everybody's time and lead somebody to believe that they're going to be a really good fit when downstream they're ultimately not going to be a good fit. Because the goal here is to have a mutually beneficial best fit for both the newest team member and us as an organization. So these are the things that we're looking for. So recap on that, the six documents: a role overview or job description, KPI document, compensation plan, training plan, the full positional agreement, and then the job advertisement itself. So I worked with ChatGPT, asking it these things, told it those are the six documents that I want to end with as we go through this process, and really just went back and forth until we found all of the things that we needed. So I had it ask me questions, I answered them. Specifically when it came to compensation and KPIs and things like that, it really wanted to make sure that it fit into the plan that we've built and that sort of thing. So we were able to create and craft those. From there, take the job ad, post it, move on to the next process. So if you're looking at bringing on a new team member, it's not just saying, I want to bring this person on. Let's go create a job ad and hope for the best. There is some things that needs to be done on the back end. This is the process that we've gone through to do that. So how do we go through the hiring process? So I know that there's a tremendous amount of you out there that have gone through hiring before, and it feels incredibly tedious and it's like a lot of work and it's scary because of that. We use a group interview process and really think of it from a marketing funnel where we want to bring in as many people as possible and then start to kind of narrow that funnel down to find and attract the best fits for the business. And I really mean that as mutually best fit, as I mentioned earlier. It has to be the right fit for the individual and it has to be a right fit for us. To find that person that fits the role and the culture and everything else, we need to cast a wide enough net. So, what this looks like in practice is we post the job ad, and we post the job ad on job posting sites. So think LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, things like that. But we're also sending it out to our network. And what I've found is some of the best people are traditionally already working for someone else. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but traditionally we want to find people that are already working for somebody else and bring them over onto our team. Doesn't always happen that way, but generally speaking, we want to find where these people are hanging out and provide them the opportunity to say, that sounds like a cool thing. I'd love to have a conversation. So we cast that first wide net. They apply for the particular job. Now, rather than just a fill out or send in the resume and then we take a look at hundreds of resumes potentially, there's a couple steps that happen before we even really dig in. And two screening things that we have. The first one is there's a couple yes no questions, things like that, as part of the application that the applicant needs to fill in. This helps us identify if there's some people that are just definitely not a good fit. So as an example, if we've got individuals that do not live in the area and are not planning to move to the area, but it's a full-time in-person, in-office type of a role, and they say that I don't live here, then that's a good way to kind of start filtering out some of those. The next step that we do is a video recorded question answer type thing. So it's not necessarily an interview, so to say, but it's a process to see how these individuals conduct themselves in this medium, in a video medium, how they think through answers, and shows us that they're willing to put in the work and that they actually want to continue on in the process. So that's traditionally 3, maybe 4 questions that take 60 to 90 seconds to answer. They can range depending on the role that we're hiring for. And it's really fun to see people's answers. And it gives us a really good sense of the individual. So by nature, what this does, if we have, let's say 100 people apply for a job, oftentimes we'll get maybe 30 that actually complete the video process. This already narrows down the number of people that we're going to be reaching out to and having conversations with because they've taken all of the steps. And we make this very clear on the job ad. This has to happen, otherwise you will not be considered. So it gives us a sense of, do you read all the detail? Do you see what the next steps are? Do you take those next steps? If you don't see the thing, do you reach out to us? So a way of self-deselection is really what this process is. From there, then we take those and invite them into a group interview where we get to see them in a group setting, ask them questions, and really see what is their character, what is their way of thinking, how do they interact. I care less about what's on the resume and how you show up on a day. I think that just tells us so much more about the individual, and it gets away from needing 10, 20 years of experience in certain things. Yes, that can be important, but I'd much rather take somebody who's a good fit than somebody who just has a great documentation on paper. So we look through that process, we do the group interview, and then that gives us a sense of who are if there's a handful of folks that are left that we're like, yep, these are all really, really good. We might do an individual interview at that point, or we may just make an offer to the individual that we want to bring onto the team. So what that does is it gives us this process of casting a wide net and being able to bring it down without us having to sift through hundreds of resumes. We get to allow these individuals to deselect themselves through the process if they don't feel that they're ultimately a good fit. So these are just some of the things that we traditionally do when it comes to hiring, recruiting, all of that kind of stuff. And that's what we did this week, as we look at replacing the roles that my parents play in the business, as we look to grow the team and achieve this goal of retiring my parents by the end of 2026, we've got to hire more, which means we get to go through this process. So I hope that you found this helpful. It's a little bit more tactical on the things that are being done this week. I'll share, I'm sure, a few more stories, things like that as we get into the coming weeks. But that's going to be it for today. So stay locked in and let's go build some amazing businesses together.